I'm Ryan Milliken from Hardway Performance, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Dimitri Miller with No Zone Diesel.
This is Anthony Reams from XDP.
This is Jaron Holder from Holderdown Performance.
Corey Willis from PPEI.
I'm Drew with D&J Precision Machine.
I'm Pinky.
And you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Diesel Podcast.
You're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
The Diesel Podcast.
The one and only Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We've got a really cool episode for you guys today. We wouldn't have believed it unless we talked to the truck owner today, so you definitely want to check this one out, especially if you're into LBZ Duramax trucks or you're racing them at the track. But before we get to it, we want to thank PPEI and BD Diesel for making this episode possible. If you're looking to upgrade your truck, head on over to dieselperformance.com and PPEI.com. There's a ton of cool new things out. BD's got their rebuildable torque converter, it's awesome. You need to check that out. Then also PPEI has some updates with their Ellis transmission tuning. Alright guys, let's get to this episode about an LBZ you probably haven't heard about, but you're going to start to hear a ton here really quick. Danny, how's it going, man?
Hey Patrick, we're back at it again.
We've been staying busy.
Very busy. We've been having a lot of fun, been meeting a lot of great guests and great people in the industry.
We definitely have. It's definitely, there's so much going on in diesel stuff right now. It's really cool. And, today's episode is, when you told me about this guy, I was floored with what he's done with this truck. So we wanted to welcome him to the podcast. How's it going, Jesse?
How's it going, guys?
Good. I wanted to just start, quick right from the start. Is tell us about yourself. Tell us about the truck, what you've been doing with it, and let our listeners know about what you're doing out there in diesel performance.
Sure. I own Direct Injection Engineering, and we're a small company in Hendersonville, North Carolina. We do everything from transmission builds to any kind of performance on diesel trucks. And we have right now we have the world record holding stock engine Duramax truck.
How fast did it go?
The last pass we made, it ran a 996 at 135 miles an hour.
Ooh, that's moving.
Yeah, it is.
Tell us about the truck a little bit. What's the setup? What's the configuration as far as the cab?
Well, at the moment it's an LBZ engine that we actually picked up a few weeks ago from a guy on Craigslist. It's a 300,000 mile engine. The guy was actually on the Duramax diesel forum, and so we talked to him a little bit, and he said, it ran well when he took it out of a wrecked truck, and still factory EGR and everything. We cleaned the gunk off of it. We didn't even mess with the head studs or anything. We just basically slapped some LLY injectors into it, and because that's what we had in the previous engine, and we put it together. It's a single turbo. It also runs nitrous on it. So, and it's a crew cab also.
As far as stock engine, what would define it, say, as a stock engine?
Well, from the valve covers to the oil pan, it is straight from GM, so untouched.
Wow. That's crazy it could go that fast.
Yeah, we're thinking it's around about 1,000 horsepower is what the tune should be at. So, and it's holding it pretty well. The previous engine that we recently almost split the block in half on the last engine, but it took about 55 passes on the street to do that, or on the track, to do that. So,
and I know the Duramax listeners we have, they're going to ask, how can you go that fast on a stock engine and not, because you think of all the things that could happen or could go wrong with cracked pistons, bent rods, or something like that. How do you guys keep it alive?
Well, I think that it has a lot to do with the RPM. I think one of the tricks is that we're trying to get the RPMs higher so that we're staying over the torque curve, because the torque is what we feel is what is very damaging to these bottom ends anyway. So we're getting the RPMs up a little bit. We're running a good 1,000 RPMs over the factory rep limiter at 3250, which is the stock one. So we're also, I think the nitrous helps out. The nitrous is, keeping things a little bit cooler, I think. We're not actually building as much boost as a lot of these other guys, and I think that's also blowing apart intake pipes and everything else, So, I mean, we still have the factory Y bridge on the truck. So, or not the factory, but just factory Y bridge, but an EGR delete, sorry. So, but we haven't put any aftermarket one pieces or anything like that on. We are just handling it fine.
With the transmission setup, is it billet shafts and P2 planet and hub and all that stuff?
Yeah, it does have a billet input shaft, billet C2, basically just it's like a 750 build plus an input shaft basically. So it's not real special or anything. It does have the pump shimmed pretty hard to give us some good high pressure through the shifts. So it's not going to be like probably a long-lasting transmission, if you will, but it shifts really great.
It's so impressive to think, because it basically takes everything that, people may think it takes to go that fast. You think of, well, I need an engine build, I need billet rods and all these different things, and the fact that it can hold it and do it, and you can do it multiple times it's what's so cool.
Yeah, we love it. We get a lot of attention for it, and I think that 90% of our customers are going to have stock engines. For us to go ahead and push a built motor, $30,000 extra on these customers, is at 700 horsepower. I don't think it's really necessary at this point. I think that the tuning is so good now. The hard parts are getting really, really good, and EFI Live gets better with every update. So I feel like, we're able to dial in the tunes better, and with experience with these new tuners and in the old school tuners as well, just getting so much better, I think we were able to push them a little further.
To take a crew cab short bed to that level, what did you guys do to shave the weight down?
We have the interior's pretty gutted. It still has the factory dashboard and instrument cluster, steering wheel, and actually the driver's seat. It still has its power leather seat and everything. We took the rest of the interior out. We cut the bed down pretty hard. That's really it, though. It's still 5,500 pounds. Just empty, and then with me and the geared up, it's like 5,720 or 5,750, something like that.
And you mentioned it had a big single and some nitrous, but how big is this single and how much nitrous? What kind of jets are you running?
Not really that big. I say big single because it's a big VGT. It's actually a Danville built 6871. It's actually an LBZ based turbocharger, and the other engine we had previously, we had a 3794 with the same billet 68 Danville wheel, but it was just basically a turbo for towing. It wasn't anything fancy. And then we did have around, I would say, about a 250 horsepower shot of nitrous on that engine. And then with this bigger turbo we've recently installed, we were able to dial the nitrous back down. We're only running, it's 252 jets. And if you know anything about nitrous on diesels, it's around 100 to 125 horsepower shot right now.
And is that a window switch that you have, or a full throttle? Or
it's a progressive controller system we're using right now. It's actually two stages. So we have one that actually is I guess you call it a spool jet. It comes on pretty quick off the line and just tries to get the turbo real, spooled up very quickly. And then the other one is more of a power jet that runs through the whole entire run. And they are from Nitrous Express, and everything's all dialed in based on it's a Hobbs switch. It's based on the boost level. So as the boost rises up, then the nitrous progressively comes in.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty fun setup, if you ask me.
It is. We built it, originally it was to tow my camper and work equipment around. I was actually, I still am, actually, I own an electrical contracting business still. So that's where, we started and everything. We bought this truck as a work truck and, started going to the track and getting it faster and faster. And next thing you know, everyone's wanting us to do things on their own trucks. So,
what do the Cummins guys say at the local track when you are running sub 10-second passes?
Well, yeah, we've only run one sub 10. So at this point, it's basically all social media that people are talking about it. But, when we go down and run, I mean, mid sixes and the eights is where we see most of them at the local tracks. They're pretty impressed, I think, especially with it being a stock engine like that. So
We had done a podcast last week. We had Ryan Milliken on, and him and I were talking about transmissions, and we talked a little bit about Allisons and 48 REs, and he made a point that he said, an Allison's a great transmission for what it's intended to do, but it's a big, heavy setup, and he's like, the 48 REs, they have their own issues once you want to get to a certain speed where the cases can't handle some of the pressure, and the valve bodies are, prevent the kind of pressure you need to run, and turbo 400s are the way to go. Have you guys thought about maybe doing a different transmission setup and cutting down that time with the same power level, or do you guys want to do it with basically the way this truck would come from GM, so to speak, with the...
anyone that's done any, track time with an Allison knows that you do a pass one time and then you go back to the same pass another day, and it's not going to be the same because the Allison's going to try and anticipate the shifts, and it just puts you off base. It's always a learning, so you've got to kind of trick it into going faster, basically. So, but it's funny that you say that because a buddy of mine that I met at Rudy's actually a few weeks ago has deleted his Allison, and he's using a 48 RE. Or I'm sorry, he's using what is the GM transmission? The 48 480. Yeah, 480. Yeah, and he's actually got it shifting. He's got a complete standalone processor for it, so he's able to control exactly when it shifts. It has no issues whatsoever. And he's actually doing really well. He won the 6-7 class with that transmission. Just it's very, very consistent. He doesn't have any TCM fighting him constantly on that. And then also was talking to Dustin Minturn at Diesel Addiction a few weeks ago about it, and he was thinking we could possibly do something where we once we get a really good pass, data log it, save the taps, which is the adaptive shifts, and turn off adaptive shifting so it doesn't change anymore, and program those numbers back into the TCM so that it continues to make those same shifts. But I don't know how far anyone's ever gone with that. But if we get into any more issues, at this point it's doing what we want it to do. We make a few passes, we leave it, in the big tune, and we only run it wide open basically. So it hasn't fought us too much.
Well, that's interesting too. Just I think like with Ultimate Callout Challenge, we really see it, and some of the other things is the power and the ability. Even as you mentioned earlier, with the tuning and the parts and everything, they've jumped really far ahead, and it's like the transmission side is still, it's trying to catch up. It's trying to innovate and adapt, and there's all these other options, and it's really cool to be able to talk with guys like you and see, what your plans are, what options there are to basically harness the power and go faster. And the racing scene is probably going to look a lot different in a year, a year from now, 2 years from now.
Absolutely. Again, there are some transmissions, Allison, full builds that have been into the low nines. I don't know how far the stock engine is going to go. We're going to take it literally as far as we can, and because I think there's still plenty left in the chassis. And, I've decided that I am not going to build an engine for this truck until I know the chassis is 100% done. So, we'll just keep going faster, and we'll see if that actually becomes a limiter for us in the future. It'd be great to run low nines. I never thought I'd be running low tens. So, it could happen.
Danny, you had some great questions we were talking about before with, the times and the lists and the things like that.
Yeah, one thing I was wondering, when you get on this list, and I've seen this official list, how do you enter your information, and how does this get validated in the diesel industry as stock?
Well, okay, so as far as the list goes, are you talking about the 1099 list, or are you talking about from the Duramax form, or are you talking about just being the fastest?
Being the fastest, and just being on that list. Like, who do you send that information to Do you send them a time slip? Do you send them a video, or how does that work?
Well, basically it starts out, well, on the Duramax Diesel Forum. What I did was I did some research. It was like last October, and I was running really great times, and I'd never heard of a Duramax getting into the 6s and the 8th mile. You know, I was the 8th mile guy, just local track, and did a bunch of research. I went actually on the forums and asked if anyone had ever heard of a truck, with the stock engine or stock bottom end or whatever going into the 6s at all and the 8s. And there were a very few. There were like 2 or 3 that, and I mean, it took 40 or 50 posts of people saying, I think maybe they went this fast, and then trying to find the information. And, we found that I was like I think a 670 was like the fastest anyone had ever gone. And I think it was in a short bed, whatever. The Funk, I think, was his name on the Duramax forums. But anyway, so we beat that number and posted that up, and then from there they said that we didn't really need to have a record for an 8th mile. They want to see the quarter. Like, no one really cares about the 8th, I guess. So we went to the quarter. We'd never been before. We went to Atlanta Dragway. And first pass, this was full-bodied. It had every part except for a tailgate and a spare tire. And we ran a 1070 in the truck. No weight reduction, Rancho shocks, And, that kind of blew up the internet with people saying, no way, it's not real. There's no way it's got to be a built engine. There's no way we can go that fast. And then, so Dustin Minturn actually called me. I don't know if you guys know him from Diesel Addiction, a good friend of mine. He called up and said that he has been working on the same kind of project, trying to get the same record. And but he has it's a fully fiberglass truck. It's 4,000 pounds. It's 2-wheel drive, and it's heavily modified. And he was going for that same record. And we tried to meet up a few times, and he ended up going to Darlington and running a 10.4. And we gutted the bed at that point of the truck and took some interior out and went and ran a 10.3. And we're full-wheel drive crew cab. At that time, we were still like 6,400 pounds or something, and he was at 4,000. And so, we got him there, and then talked some more, and we've been going back and forth for since October of last year. On trying to. He's actually been through 2 engines as well, trying to break this record. So it's a lot of fun, actually.
That's just amazing to me. So you can post that time, and is it just more of an honor system, how you guys report it, or?
Well, I mean, as long as you have a time slip, and I mean, everything's on video too, that we have. So, we've got pretty good evidence that we did it. But yeah, we go on the Duramax forums, and we, post it up there and post up the time slip, and then, it kind of gets out of hand with Facebook once you post anything up there. So.
And that's why I ask these questions, because a lot of people, you can say, that's awesome, that sounds like it worked, but what did they really do? How did they really get there? Because if it was, you just make it sound so easy. If it was that easy, and then everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot has to do with a lot of testing. We were on a few little local list races, they called them. We had like a top 864 top truck list, which was like a local drag strip list. They did every Thursday night. So we did a lot of testing with the truck. And we're smart about it, I think. We actually we bring out a thermometer. We measure the track temps. We watch our tire pressure. We try and be consistent. We're really good with that. And we're running low 1.4 60 foots.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's a killer 60. It comes out really great. So that's a part of it also, is being able to get off the line so fast.
And how are you doing that? You got these slicks on there, but what did you do to the front end, to this truck, to keep it together?
To the front end, I mean, the only thing the front end has on it is it has some rare parts tie rods. It has the DHD center link support, and we pull the bolts all the way out for the torsion bars. Just drop them all the way down. That's it. We were having some issues before. We do have now in the back. We've partnered with Olin's USA, which I don't know if you've heard of them. They do a lot of motocross and super bikes and actually Formula One cars. They're like top name in suspension, and then we've partnered with them for the rear suspension so far. We're looking at doing the front also, but they were able to give us a little more control to where the front end doesn't lift off the ground and it actually plants, because we were getting a lot of front end movement before, and now it's actually just planting and accelerating. I mean, before the truck was very, very violent. It was hard to drive. It was hard to hold on and see what was going on and lock the converter and everything else. Now it's straight as an arrow. It just goes.
That is unbelievable. I mean, that's a pretty minimal setup. And I love what you said about how, 9 out of 10 customers in this industry have a stock engine. And that is absolutely true. Who's got the extra, 30 plus grand to go out and just, build the bottom end of that engine?
Well, see, I also feel like that 30 grand could be put elsewhere. I mean, you could still put it into the truck, to make it fast, but just put it in a different direction. You don't really need that into the engine. I mean, not even 30 grand would be, you could get any kind of force wheels or whatever you want, but no, I don't really think that that's necessary for most people. The industry has always thought that 700 horsepower, 750, somewhere around there with the Duramax, and it's toast. It's just not going to do anything like that. So you're going to have to do like the LOY as rods. The rods are the first to let go. The LBZ, they say the pistons are the first to let go. And I feel like we've been able to work through both of those, and the more we do it and the more we show people that it can be done, I think the more people will actually, the faster we'll get. It's not only going to be the elite that can afford to do that to spend 30, 35 grand, or shop owners or whatever, to actually have a competitive racing truck. So
that's an awesome story. What got you into all this stuff to begin with?
I used to actually be into imports. I know it's embarrassing, right? But
no.
I actually worked for a couple dealerships. I worked for the local Dodge dealership. I worked for a Honda dealership, and I actually, before that, I was into muscle cars. But I've always done my own tuning. I even from AEM, EMS, Honda, all the little different types of software, and then got into this, got the EFI Live. Even though right now I did not tune the truck to what it's doing now. It's actually been tuned by Mark Broviak at D&J Performance. And I tuned it as much as I could. I got the truck to go really quick, but then it's his turbocharger. He is awesome. He got it going much faster. So I got to hand it to him. He's great. But
he's a lot of fun to watch at a drag strip. If anybody ever gets a chance to see him, he definitely will steal the show. I've had a pleasure of watching him a few times in my life, and I got to agree with you there. He definitely has solid rigs when he brings them to the track.
Yeah, he knows his stuff, and I mean, man, he seems really humble. I mean, for what he's doing in the industry, he just knows so much, and he's so helpful. I mean, he's the only one that I know that'll update your tunes in the middle of the night if you have to. I tell him I'm going to the track tomorrow and I need something. He'd ship it right over, no problem. So, but yeah, we just got into it that way, and then, well, we got like I said, I was an electrician, got a work truck, big diesel truck, towing around the camper and everything. And I mean, I just got the itch, man. I wanted to make it go faster. I saw, about the tuning and everything, and started turning the truck up a little bit. And I ended up going to Zach Fuller from Starlight Diesel, has the classes for EFI Live. So I went to one of his classes, learned my own stuff that way, and just started tinkering with it. So, but yeah, it's an awesome industry. Everybody's really easy to get along with. I mean, I don't know. It's great.
So what are your plans moving forward with this LBZ 9.9 second beast?
Well, I think our next goal is we're going to try and we're back to the 8th mile because it's local. It's hard for us to get to the quarter mile all the time. So, but we actually ran at that 996, we actually ran a 6.3 in the 8th mile. And that was at 110 miles an hour. And that's the fastest we've ever gone in the 8th. So I think we're going to try and work on getting into the 5s in the 8th mile. So see if we can do that and then go from there. I don't know.
Boy, you like to push the limits on that.
Yes, sir.
Are you married or anything?
Yeah, we're what's that?
Are you married?
Oh yeah.
You're married and your wife lets you push the limits of your trucks. And
Oh yeah.
Doesn't care, huh?
Yep. She knows I love it, and I'm gonna do it. So yeah, she's great too. So she goes to the track a lot too. She sees what it's all about.
It's so cool, though, what you said earlier about being able to have a truck, one you use for work or, you daily drive, and you can make it go fast without putting tens of thousands, if not $100,000 into it. And that's what Diesel Performance started as. I think way back when was being able to have a truck that you could tow a trailer, use it for work, go camping, take it to the track, have fun. And that's what people want. That's what people want to see. And it's really cool to see you out there doing it. Where's the best place, like social media or different places to see when updates on the truck, how fast it's going, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Facebook is probably the best. We keep that up to date pretty regularly. We also have an Instagram, and we have a Facebook page. It's Direct Injection Engineering. But yeah, we try and keep it all posted as we're doing it. Even sometimes when we're on the way to the track, the guys will post up pictures that try to get everybody pumped up. So. But yeah, we'll be going back. It's warm now. We're probably going to try to go every weekend until this one gives out on us. We'll see what happens.
Just want to say congratulations on your most recent success, because that was literally just this past weekend or in the past week. And we're going to be watching you, Jesse. We're going to be rooting you on, brother, and we hope the best for you.
Well, I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us today, Jesse. It was great to chat with you, hear about the truck, what you're doing, your goals. You're definitely pushing, I think, the performance in the right direction it needs to go. And it's really cool to hear about, see, and we'll make sure and follow you on social media. And like Danny said, keep pulling for you. See how fast you can go on that stock engine.
Right on, man. I really appreciate you guys calling.
Don't forget, guys, head on over to dieselperformance.com and PPEI.com for updates and products and tons of cool things for Cummins, Power Stroke, and Duramax trucks. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.